What? Let's get going then. Welcome everyone, and I want to thank all the participants and all of you here to hear a very important part of the casino expansion debate. I recognize that Connecticut has a very unique relationship with gambling on tribal land, and I think the conversation has been discussed in regards to expansion off of tribal land. And I think the basic driver of the conversation in the debate has been about jobs and the economy. And I think for me, my perspective on this issue is we may be looking at an industry that is at a saturation point. And if you truly look at the numbers of casinos that used to be so focused in Connecticut off our two casinos to now practically existing everywhere we see, the real concern is, are we looking at a proper economic bet? The second part of that analysis that I have reviewed is to understand that are we opening up the Pandora's box of our constitutional equal protection in which we are, in essence, allowing a duopoly to control gambling in our states in return for the tribal compact relationship with our slots. And that is an issue that we are going to have to debate and address in the Connecticut legislature. And I think the third issue as a point of concern is there has always been a focus in past discussions that any potential expansion outside of tribal land would have to have the community's engagement. And when the Quinnipiac poll, at last poll, talked about gambling and gambling expansion in our state, addressed the issue that nearly 70% of Connecticut residents polled said gambling is a unique relationship in our state, and on tribal land they understand the coexistence of it. But they were overwhelmingly rejecting the notion of expansion outside of it. So we need to listen to the public, and what has raised the point of alarm for me as a legislator is the fact that there's a potential of East Windsor, that is one of the communities that are considering the expansion, may not have a public referendum, taking away a voice of the community to say whether they want that expansion or not. So there are a plethora of discussion points that the legislative body will have to address.
Did you bend that mic out of the way?
Today, what you see behind me are individuals that have created an alliance. These are community leaders, these are faith leaders, these are individuals whose lives have been irreparably changed by gambling addiction, to now provide a face, a reality of what gambling addiction has wrought in its possibilities to grow the business in our state. We've not yet done a very good job in the Connecticut General Assembly to understand the full impact and to really create resources to allocate against the plight and the devastation of gambling addiction. And for all the marketing and all the ads that we see about gambling, these are faces and stories that you do not see. And what we're creating here is an opportunity for people to be heard, for our communities that have been damaged and irreparably torn apart to have a voice in understanding that gambling expansion is not the way to go in the state of Connecticut. So I want to welcome Michelle Murdrick, who represents the United Council of
Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ.
There you go. And she'll bring and introduce our various speakers, and we'll be available for questions afterwards. Thank you.
Good morning.
Michelle, could you spell your name?
Yes, my first name is Michelle, M-I-C-H-E-L-E with one L. My last name is Mudrick, M-U-D-R-I-C-K, and I have business cards up here too.
M as in Mary?
M as in Mary, U umbrella, D David, R rabbit, I ice cream, C cat, K kitten.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning. Thank you, Senator Wong, for your presence and your outstanding leadership on the casino issue. And thank you all, legislators, legislative staff, members of the media, and everyone concerned about the casino issue for coming to the press conference this morning. I am Michelle Mudrick. I am the legislative advocate for the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ and organizer for this coalition. I'm very pleased to announce this morning that we have 12 groups spanning a broad range of progressive and conservative viewpoints that have joined together in a nonpartisan alliance to oppose the legalization of off-reservation commercial gambling in Connecticut. We're coming together to urge that no new casinos be built in our state. Our alliance, the Coalition Against Casino Expansion in Connecticut, will work to educate the public and state officials about the economic and social costs of more legalized gambling, and to oppose efforts to open a commercial casino in the Hartford area. Our coalition, which is continuing to add members, currently includes the Episcopal Church in Connecticut, the Connecticut League of Women Voters, the Family Institute of Connecticut, the New England Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, the Connecticut Association for Human Services, the Council of Churches of Greater Bridgeport, the resident bishop of the New England Conference of the United Methodist Church, Advocacy Unlimited, the Farmington Valley American Muslim Center, the American Baptist Churches of Connecticut, and I'm very pleased to say that our newest member as of the last day is the Catholic Conference of Connecticut, and of course the United Church of Christ. We're very pleased to have the Catholics on board. The coalition has issued a white paper questioning the wisdom of expanding casino gambling in Connecticut at a time when the Northeast faces an increasing casino glut, and there is a growing body of research on casinos' negative economic and social effects on individuals and communities. Given the high stakes, we strongly urge the legislature to commission an impartial study of the economic and social costs of casino expansion, and to require a statewide referendum on expansion before authorizing another casino. We also urge that any town considering a casino be required to allow its residents to vote in a local referendum on whether to approve it. There's a report published by the Institute of American Values, and I brought several copies with me here today, called Why Casinos Matter. This report comes from the Council on Casinos, an independent, nonpartisan group of scholars and leaders who studied the role of casinos on American life. Here are a couple findings from this book, Why Casinos Matters. Casinos are built for people to lose their money. The modern slot machine is deliberately engineered to take in much more than it pays out, and are carefully designed to ensure that the longer you play, the more you lose. We need to be thinking of more creative ways to get revenue into our state than from the backs of low-wage earners, women, and the minorities and the elderly. Another statistic from this document, problem gamblers account for 40 to 60% of slot machine revenues. Why, again, is it a good thing for our state to have another casino to make money off the addicted? Casinos also hurt the local economy because they lure people in and they spend money there instead of in the local economy. Casinos also hurt property taxes and increase crime. The last point I want to make from this detailed report is that casinos are a policy contributing to patterns of inequality, affecting low-wage workers, retirees, minorities, and the disabled. There's no justice in using addictive gambling machines to obtain revenue for the most vulnerable populations. Connecticut is already home to the third largest casino in the world. Let that sink in. The third largest casino in the world. Do we really need another 60 miles from the third largest casino in the world? We have a website, nomorecasinosnct.org, and a Facebook page. And again, thank you for joining us today. We're very grateful for this opportunity. The coalition members represent concerned citizens in every one of Connecticut's 169 towns. And I'd first like to introduce them to talk briefly about the coalition and some of their main concerns. I'd like to first introduce former Congressman Robert Steele.
Yeah, I'll point that down to me.
Thank you, Michelle, and good morning. I believe that the press release that the coalition has issued covers very, very thoroughly the main issues as to why the coalition has been created and its concerns. There is also an accompanying document that you have 12 reasons to oppose casino expansion in Connecticut, which is basically the coalition's white paper on the subject. There are 3 points, however, that I'd like to elaborate on. First, the economic study the tribes commissioned to support opening their proposed casino does not address its economic and social costs. I want to be very clear about that because it seems to be something that is widely misunderstood. In fact, last March, when Senator Wong asked the study's author at hearings right here in the Capitol before the Commerce Committee, the study's author stated that he did not even try to address the social costs because it was impossible to quantify them. The director of the Connecticut Center for Economic Analysis subsequently called that nonsense, which is precisely what it is. In fact, detailed analysis by economist Earl Grinnells, the country's leading independent expert on the subject, has calculated that on average, the long-term economic and social costs of introducing a casino to a new area outweighs its benefits by 3 to 1. The coalition therefore strongly urges the legislature to require an impartial, comprehensive study of the economic and social costs to the state and to the host region before voting on whether to go forward with another casino. The coalition believes this is particularly important at a time when the Northeast faces a growing casino glut and there is an increasing body of research on the negative impacts of casinos. Second, it is important to emphasize that off-reservation commercial casino gambling is currently illegal in Connecticut. If it is legalized, the coalition believes the proposed Hartford area casino would be only the first step in a broad expansion of legalized gambling in Connecticut. To begin with, if the tribes succeed in changing the law, they can be expected to revive their original proposal to open 2 convenience casinos in Fairfield County. Furthermore, legalizing commercial gambling could also open the door to other groups seeking licenses for casinos and other forms of gambling, including neighborhood slots parlors, internet gambling, and sports betting. To get just a quick idea of what's waiting in the wings, one need only look at what is happening elsewhere. For example, video slots are spreading beyond casinos into local neighborhoods in more and more states. There are now some 12,000 video slot machines at so-called lottery delis in Oregon, and over 20,000 video slots at bars, restaurants, truck stops, fraternal clubs, so-called gaming cafes, and even at the first 2 flower shops in Illinois. Key Pennsylvania legislators have proposed opening 20 local slots parlors across Pennsylvania to be owned by the state's 10 current casinos. There is a massive effort underway to expand sports betting in the United States, including daily fantasy sports. And thanks to a 2011 U.S. Justice Department ruling, New Jersey, Delaware, and Nevada have legalized in-state online casino betting for their residents. And at least a dozen other states are considering it. Third, and the final issue I'd like to quickly elaborate on is I'd like to emphasize that the coalition believes that the issue of casino expansion is so important that the legislature should require, as Michelle has already outlined, a statewide referendum on expansion before voting on the issue, and that any town considering a casino should be required to allow its residents to vote in a local referendum on whether or not to approve it. Finally, New Jersey. New Jersey is very relevant to Connecticut, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about it more here in Connecticut. It has had more experience with casinos than any state in the Northeast, and like Connecticut, it is facing growing cross-border casino competition, which is decimating its casino industry. New Jersey's top officials recently decided that the answer to their casino problems was to build more casinos by expanding from Atlantic City into North Jersey. It was a bad idea, but at least Jersey residents had a chance to vote on it. And in a stunning statewide referendum last November, New Jersey residents voted 4-1 against this expansion proposal, reflecting the overwhelming view that casinos have become an economic and social dead end for New Jersey. The desperate effort to expand casino gambling in Connecticut in order to prop up our casino industry is a clear sign that casino gambling has also become a dead end for Connecticut, and that the public, at the very least, should be allowed to vote on whether they want more of it. Thank you.
Thank you, former Congressman Bob Steele. Now I'd like to introduce Reverend Dwight Dean from the Windsor Locks Congregational Church.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning. My name is Reverend Dwight Dean, and I presently serve as the interim pastor of the Congregational Church in Windsor Locks, an evangelical free church. I am proud to stand this morning with these men and women who have joined together to form this coalition against casino expansion in Connecticut. No More Casinos in Connecticut is comprised of people who have come from diverse faith communities, movements, and geographic regions in our state, but who are united in our belief that another casino in Connecticut is a bad idea. I am here to voice my opposition to another casino anywhere in the state of Connecticut, and particularly in Windsor Locks or East Windsor, where my parish is located. I stand in opposition to the expansion of casino gambling because of its potential impact in at least 3 or 4 spheres. First of all, the individual sphere. Gambling contributes to the loss of a healthy, biblical work ethic. It replaces the reliance upon hard work, savings, and prudence in spending with greed, luck, and chance as the preferred route to fulfillment and prosperity. Many of us have heard and seen the tragic results of individuals who have been destroyed by the pursuit of a payout which never came. Secondly, the sphere of families. Casino gambling is a form of regressive taxation, preying upon many who cannot afford the losses they inevitably suffer. Studies have shown up to 50% of casino gambling revenues come from problem or addicted gamblers. A disproportionate number of casino gamblers are low income and elderly. It is well documented that casinos contribute to increased debt, bankruptcies, and crime, all of which have devastating effects on families. Thirdly, the sphere of our communities. Casinos weaken local communities according to that landmark report issued by the Institute of American Values, this study cited earlier by Michelle. Today's local and regional casinos drain wealth from communities, weaken nearby businesses, hurt property values, and reduce civic participation family stability, and other forms of social interactions which are at the heart of a successful community. And fourthly, in the realm of the state, casinos are not the answer to Connecticut's economic woes. Revenues and jobs in our existing casinos have declined dramatically in recent years, and this is indicative of what other states are seeing as well. 5 of Atlantic City's 12 casinos have recently closed. Connecticut's casino revenues are down 40% from their peak, and this before a casino is built in Springfield. How telling it was this past November when New Jersey voters did vote 4-1 against the expansion of casino gambling in their state. I support job growth and revenue expansion in our state, but I believe we can do much better than bringing the problems of another casino to the Hartford area. I want to urge our legislature to do what's best for the citizens of Connecticut and oppose the expansion of casino gambling in our state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dean. Now I'd like to please introduce Reverend Jan Gregory Charpentier.
Good morning. I'm honored to speak along with partners in this coalition in response to the proposed effort to expand casino gambling in Connecticut. My name is the Reverend Jan Gregory Charpentier. I am the pastor of the First Congregational Church of Westbrook, and I come for all those reasons that Pastor Dwight mentioned and were mentioned by previous speakers as well, but I also come and desire to speak because I come out of a call of compassion and social justice. As pastor, I work with all people from all ranks of society, but often I'm called upon by those in need to respond to economic, relational, social crises in their lives. And I know from all the statistics that you will hear and have heard that it is those most vulnerable in our society and least equipped to cope with the ravages of family, of community, of addiction that gambling, problem gambling, not only contributes to but exacerbates. We know that the casino efforts, the business model rely on problem gamblers. As we've heard from statistics, up to 50-60% of those who gamble come out of an urgency and an internal compulsion, addicted gambling. I care about that as a pastor. I also care about that as a person. I have seen parishioners who live on disability checks so compelled by their gambling addiction to spend what little money they have on lottery tickets and other forms of gambling, and then have to turn to my community to ask for benevolence to help pay rent or buy food. It's a ripple effect that affects not just individuals and families, but entire communities. And speaking more personally, my husband's cousin was married to a gentleman who suffered from gambling addiction. It not only led to the destruction of their marriage, but as you may hear or read as you go through the white papers, a third of problem gamblers attempt suicide. And my cousin-in-law was successful in his attempt. It not only ended that marriage, it ended his life. So I have a personal reason as well as a professional reason for standing before you and saying we do not need any more casinos in Connecticut. We are saturated. Our most vulnerable populations, our families, my parishioners do not need the effects of what expanded casino gambling in Connecticut would bring. Thank you.
Reverend Jan, before you leave, could you give us your name again slowly?
Yes, It's way
Your
too.
mic fell off.
I'm sorry, I do have.
We have
a list of all the
everyone's
names.
Right here, I
Oh,
have a
good.
list.
Thank
Can
you. Thank you
feel
very
free-
much.
Thank you, Reverend Jan. I'd like to please introduce Peter Wolfgang, the Executive Director of Family Institute of Connecticut.
As Michelle said, I'm Peter Wolfgang. I'm the Executive Director of Family Institute of Connecticut, and we are pleased to join this coalition against the expansion of casino gambling in Connecticut because problem gamblers hurt their families as well as themselves. They do this when they spend their time at the casinos rather than at home, when their spouses are harassed by bill collectors, when they attempt suicide at 3 times the rate of the general population. Gamblers Anonymous found that upwards of 26% have gambling-related divorces or separations, or when some children have spent hours alone in parked cars or unattended at home while their parents gamble in the casino. You heard Michelle say it. This is a coalition of progressives and conservatives. I think it's fair to say that most of the people standing behind me are what you might call the religious left in Connecticut, and I am not. In the 28-year history of the Family Institute of Connecticut, we have never joined in a coalition like this one. We did it because this is so important. This is such a threat to family life in the state of Connecticut. Most of these folks standing behind me are people that we opposed on other issues throughout the year, some of which we oppose, we're on the opposite end of them even this year on some of the bills that came up. Those battles will continue. But I think it speaks to the importance of stopping casino expansion in Connecticut, that whatever our other disagreements, we are all united around this common cause. That's how important this is. That's how serious a threat this is in the state of Connecticut to family life and to the other good values that you heard mentioned here today. And that's why Family Institute is proud to be part of this coalition. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I'd like to please introduce next the Reverend Paul Sinnott from the New England Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you all for being part of this news conference. And thank you, colleagues and friends who are willing to take a stand on this very important issue. The name is Synod, S-I-N-N-O-T-T, and I represent the New England Synod, S-Y-N-O-D. And I do get mail addressed to Paul Synod, just so you know. I represent 67 Lutheran congregations in Connecticut, thousands of Lutherans, and we have a social statement that you can find on the ELCA website about this particular issue. I'm here today to be a voice for the voiceless, to be a voice for the pensioner that I sat across from at a kitchen table with her countertops stacked with empty cat food cans, and she doesn't have a cat, who confessed to me in her shame that the reason she eats so much cat food is that she can't afford tuna fish because as her Social Security check comes out, she goes down to spend it at the casino. And the house always wins. How about the church congregation treasurer who was entrusted with hundreds of thousands of dollars of endowments, who gambled that money away when the trust was broken between him and his congregation? And why do we object to this? Well, because it was bake sales and craft fairs that funded those endowments. And all of that money is gone because the house always wins. We all have stories. You're going to hear them all today. And we all have more stories than we have time to tell about the effects of gambling in our lives and the lives of our congregations and the lives of our constitutions. And what you need to know, what you need to keep in the back of your mind, is that this disease of problem addiction is entirely preventable. There are some addictions that are not preventable, but this is one that is preventable. And the legislature and our citizens have the right to say no, and we have to give them that choice. Thank you again for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you, Reverend Paul. Now I'd like to please introduce Sami Abdul Aziz from Common Ground Services, an Islamic consulting firm.
Peace be upon you, dear friends. My name is Imam Sami Abdul Aziz. I represent the Muslim community in the state of Connecticut, specifically to the Bloomfield Muslim Community Center and Common Ground Institute and Services. I'm here to state firmly and openly that I am against the building of casinos in Connecticut. Casinos will hurt the state of Connecticut and the people of Connecticut. Casinos spread gambling addiction, which leads to debt, bankruptcies, broken families, embezzlement, and other types of crime. The National Council of Problem Gambling estimates that 1 in 5 gambling addicts attempt suicide, a rate higher than for any other addiction. I petition my state and its elected officials to consider the negative impact and not allow a casino to be built. The harm will be much worse than the benefit guaranteed. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Imam Aziz. Now I'd like to please introduce Joni Masat from Advocacy Unlimited.
Hi, good morning. I don't have a script, but I thank you for being invited today to be part of this very important conference. I stand before you today. I work with Advocacy Unlimited, and I'm grateful that I am able to share my story. I am exactly what a problem gambler looks like. Pretty average person. We need to listen to people like myself. We need to have our voices heard. I've been in recovery as of this past Saturday for 14 years. About 10 of those years, I didn't speak on my story. I didn't talk about it. Today, I feel that it's very important to have our voices heard. So I take advantage of every time that I am invited to speak on this very critical expansion that we're looking for in the state of Connecticut. It affects your life for the rest of your life. It's not over when you stop gambling. It's everywhere you go. It's some piece of gambling I see every day, and it's an ongoing struggle to stay in recovery. I know it seems simple to many people when I say that when I come to the LOB and I want to testify against a bill for gambling expansion, whatever it's detailed to say, the first piece that you're asked to do when you come to the LOB to testify is to pull out of a beautiful shoebox marked lottery to get your place in line. That to me is unacceptable. Again, as simple as it may seem for our communities and our citizens, our legislatures, that is not simple to me. Last year, I had to ask another person in line to pull my number, because already my gambling mind was saying, if I pull number 1, I'm a winner. It didn't matter what I was pulling that number for. So please, I beg you to hear our voices on how destroying problem gambling can be. I took it from playing bingo all the way to sleeping in a prison. Not for days. It was years I was there for my problem gambling. Not once, twice. So again, I urge you to take this piece into consideration when we're looking for another casino in this state. We can't have it. I am a perfect example, and I'm certainly not alone. There's many people that we don't hear from because it's told as the hidden addiction. And like I said, I held all that in, my story, everything for 10 years until the last 4 years I've finally spoken up, because that's how important it is to have our voices heard. We have enough of this in Connecticut. We don't even realize the people, the families, the children, the communities, the churches, the businesses. It affects everyone, not just me. But until you've laid your head down in a prison and had to go to sleep, don't assume that gambling cannot be an addiction. And once more, I beg you to let our voices be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Jolene. Now I'd like to please introduce Adam Osmond.
Good afternoon. My name is Adam Osman. I'm 49 years old, married with 3 young girls, and I live in Farmington. And I say that because I wanted to show you what gambling addiction did to my family. I'm a recovering gambling addict. I haven't gambled since 2008, and I'm proud to say that I'm a recovering gambling addict. Before that, before 2008, all I did was gambling. And literally, 2008, I hit the bottom rock. I lost my businesses, I lost my job, I lost everything. I was making 6 figures, and I went from 6 figures to making 0. My family was separated. My kids and wife have to move out of the state. That was the worst possible thing that could happen to anybody, and I went through a lot. And because it was my gambling addiction. For 5 years, I lived in a house with no heat, no water, no electricity, only partial of the year's electricity, and because all of that was because of my gambling addiction. It is sad that now the state wants to put more casinos so more family could face what I had facing. I'm here to say that please, no casino. And there's also, as Joanne touched it in, some little things that makes a difference. When I'm reading sometimes an article, I hear that game. It's not a game, it's a gamble. It's a gambling addiction. The word matters because when you call it a game, it is the industry's word that to downplay the problem. Also, lottery is everywhere. They call it a lottery. I became a runner since I started gambling. I wanted to run a New York Marathon. I didn't even want to get into that because you have to go to the lottery. You got to pay $11 to get in, and then they tell you you lost. The gambling has done so much to my family, and I also seen so many other people face the same way. If you go to any Gamblers Anonymous, you will see how many families has been destroyed. I challenge every legislator who's advocating for more casino just to go to Gamblers Anonymous meetings and see the effect it has done to our families. We also hear that jobs. Those jobs are just the minimum paying jobs, low paying jobs. We need better jobs, not casino jobs. Casino doesn't create new money. All it does is just takes money from the community and then keep percentage of it, and then they say that, well, we give the state so much money. If you put a casino right here in this room today, a year from now, a lot of you will be broke, some of you will be in prison, some of you will be dead, and then the casino will run out of money. So what they'll do is they want to put a casino in the next room, and then they will do that to that same room, and then they're gonna, destroy that room too. Then they're gonna go to the other one. If casino business is so good, and we have one of the largest casinos in the state, how come they still broke, and how come they still want another casino? The idea that because the casino is going to Springfield, we want to put another one in here, doesn't make sense to those who suffer. And as you see all the community got together, it destroys families. It literally destroyed my family. And my 3 young girls and my wife and myself, we pay high price. And it also because of my gambling addiction, I changed my life. 2008 was the last time I gambled. And I'm here personally, I came here 2 hours personal time from work to tell you that please, no casinos. And there's a better ways after gambling. And for me, running is what helped me the most. And anyone who's facing a gambling addiction, come run with me. I have been running in 4 years. I'm running all 169 pounds. So far I did 147 pounds. I have run marathons, ultra marathons. anytime, something bad I'm facing, I just go run. And again, like I say, it literally destroyed my life, and for 5 years I've faced the worst possible thing I ever could imagine. So please, no more casinos. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. I'd like to next introduce Mr. Michael Calhoun, the Executive Director of the Connecticut Catholic Public Affairs Conference, and I hope I didn't butcher your name too much.
Oh, my God.
My name is Michael Culhane, and I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Catholic Public Affairs Conference. And I'm here today representing the 9 active and retired Catholic bishops of Connecticut in opposition to this expansion of gaming. I could give you a litany of reasons why the church opposes this legislation, but let it suffice to say that the organizations that are opposing this measure, as well as the example cited by the other people, I think clearly indicate that the expansion of gambling is not good public policy for the state of Connecticut.
Thank you very much, Mr. Calhoun. I'd like to next, Colleen, I'm sorry, we just met today. I know everyone else behind her, we just met today, excuse me. I'd like to next please introduce Reverend Denise Terry from the East Granby Congregational Church.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Denise Terry, and I am the senior pastor of the East Granby Congregational Church. I speak to you, though, with perhaps a unique perspective. I am speaking for myself and not my entire congregation this morning. As many congregations, mine has also not had adequate opportunity to become knowledgeable about this complicated issue. And as they may not be of one mind about this, I'm speaking as a citizen and I'm speaking as a pastor of a community that is approximately 4 miles away from the proposed casino at Windsor Locks, a community that would be very much affected by the negative impacts of that venture should it be approved by the legislature. In addition, I happen to live in the town of East Windsor, approximately 3 miles from the second proposed site of a casino, another small community that would also be negatively impacted by a casino. As a pastor in East Granby and as a resident of East Windsor, I care deeply for the individuals and the families who reside in and near those communities, and I care deeply about the strength and the vitality of those communities. I am deeply concerned about the negative impacts of potential casino gambling in these communities. For the last 30 years, I have worked intensively with recovering addicts of all sorts, alcoholics, drug addicts, and most recently, gambling addicts. I have seen up close the devastation wrought by gambling in the lives of people who began as casual gamblers visiting establishments such as Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun on occasion for entertainment with friends or family members. Within a very short time, perhaps less than a year in most cases, they have become addicted to slot machine play. Within a short time, they progress rapidly to a point where they cannot control their gambling. They cannot accurately predict how long they will stay in the casino, how much money they will spend, what they will be willing to do to continue gambling, how many lies they will tell spouses, friends, co-workers, creditors, employers about where they are going, how they're spending their time, and where all their money is going. In short order, they become preoccupied most of the day with gambling, when they will be able to gamble again, and how and when they will be able to get more money to gamble. After each time they gamble, they're filled with remorse, regret, guilt, shame, and self-loathing. Gambling addicts, as has been stated, have the highest rate among all types of addictions for suicide and suicide attempts. After a brief time, perhaps a day or a week, the gambling addict is somehow able to temporarily forget about all of the negative impacts of their gambling, all the shame and the remorse and the regret and the guilt, and the cycle begins again. First, with just the pretty innocent thought of gambling, of doing something enjoyable and pleasant, to either reward themselves for a work week well done, or to escape the stresses of a difficult week. And the cycle begins all over again. The situation continues to spiral down. I'm not telling you a story about only someone I know or someone I've heard of or even someone I've come across in my many years in ministry. This is my story. And it is indeed the story of many people I know. It is a painful story. And the lead actor in the story is not the only active participant in the story. Equal partners in the story are the casino owners, operators, and slot machine designers. Their stated goal is to entice people and more people to their casinos. The goals of their industry, which are not as directly stated outside of closed-door meetings, but which are known to many who have researched the industry and spoken at length to insiders in the industry, are to develop ways to make guests stay longer and spend more money in the casino. The industry leaders spend a lot of money and many man-hours researching and developing to manipulate their guests into parting with more and more of their money and manipulating the machines to the point where the actual odds of winning are astronomical. Today's slot machines are not like the machines of even a decade ago. They are built to track players' every action, especially through the so-called rewards cards, and to manipulate machine play through complicated algorithms that are designed to make you feel as if you are winning, even as you are slowly losing everything. Today, the casino target gambler is most predominantly female and between the ages of 30 and 50 years old. I certainly fit that demographic when I began gambling at a casino and quickly became addicted to slot machines. One of the other target demographics of casino operators is older, retired adults who may be lonely or have extra time on their hands and a bit of disposable income. This is a particularly vulnerable population. From the moment any of you first puts a dollar bill into a slot machine, the casino begins working on tracking your play to determine the likelihood of you becoming a regular guest, a problem gambler, or an outright gambling addict. And they begin to manipulate both you and the machine to create problem gamblers and addicts. These are the lifeblood of the casino. The vast majority of their income does not come from the casual gambler. It comes from problem gamblers. And casinos today are not being built as entertainment tourist destinations. They are being built to attract local residents who live within 50 miles of the casino. Thus, the communities that host casinos become bled dry of their residents' disposable income that could be spent on other pursuits, shopping, dining, maintaining their residences, and supporting other forms of entertainment and business in the community. Casino operators would like you to believe that their establishment will spur economic development in your community. The exact opposite has been proven true. Instead, the communities surrounding casinos suffer. Operators would like you to believe that they will create jobs in the community. These jobs are mostly low-paying, part-time jobs without benefits. The increased crime in communities after casinos have moved in has been thoroughly documented, as have the increased instances of domestic violence, families torn apart, bankruptcies, embezzling, and other crimes of desperation. I do not want to see any of that happen to the people I love and the communities I love in East Granby and East Windsor. Lastly, I don't have time to speak about this today, but I hope others will address it. I believe it is absolutely immoral and unethical for the government of the state of Connecticut to be looking to add to its revenues by taking advantage of its residents and by preying on their vulnerabilities. I urge you to support the work of the Coalition Against Casino Expansion in Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Terry. We only have 3 short speakers left, so if you can hang in for us, we'd really appreciate it. I'd like to next introduce Debbie Mastroni Kenyon from Monroe Congregational Church.
Good morning. My name is Debbie Mastroni Kenyon. I live in Milford, Connecticut, but I serve the Monroe Congregational Church, United Church of Christ, as a lay director of faith formation. And I had a speech prepared with a lot of facts and numbers that are on these papers right here, but I'm a storyteller, so I have a story to tell you. I have a friend. I'm in the age group now where our parents are retiring and, you know, getting to live their golden life that they worked so hard for their whole lives while we were growing up. And I have a friend whose father retired, and he received a postcard in the mail. His postcard was an invitation to play some games up at the local casino. My friend's father proceeded to lose their entire retirement fund, their home, that he and his wife worked their entire lives for 40 plus years. They now live in a month-to-month rental apartment, and their children have to help financially support them. My friend's father is also a grown man who, to save his marriage, no longer has access to money. That was their marital agreement. You will get a $5 a day allowance after retiring from working his entire life, a $5 a day allowance, so that he can't risk going out and blowing what little they have in Social Security now. So that's a personal story that I have, and I'm just very passionate about this not happening. When I think about a postcard being sent, congratulations on your retirement, but from a casino, I liken it to receiving a postcard from a drug dealer saying, come try our cocaine, because there's very little difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I'd like to next introduce the Very Reverend Miguelina Howell from Christ Church Cathedral.
I'm Miguelina Howell, representing the Episcopal Church in Connecticut, and I serve as Dean of Christ Church Cathedral in downtown Hartford. In the Episcopal Church, as we participate in God's mission, we live our baptismal covenant, and we take seriously our commitment to respect and seek the dignity of every human being. The dignity of a person who's addicted of gambling is stripped from them. Former Congressman Bob Steele spoke earlier about how quantifiable it is, the social and economic damage of gambling. And I'd like to speak briefly about the impact on children. When a parent or a caregiver has gambling problem, children get usually neglected, forgotten, depressed, and angry. The emotional and psychological damage to children as a result of gambling can be devastating. Families, as we have heard the testimonies shared today, can be broken. As a pastor, as a person who ministers, I have a privilege and an opportunity to journey with people in a very special way. And I have seen firsthand how families have been broken as a result of gambling. One particular story which I have been given permission to share is of a healthy African-American family, 3 boys, husband and wife. The husband experienced gambling problems, and it slowly destroyed that family significantly, leaving the wife to exercise the role of father and mother, having to journey in life with 3 boys who needed a role model and to be restored and healed from the pain of seeing their father's life being destroyed by addiction. Let us not take part on the destruction of families as a result of gambling. No more casinos in Connecticut.
Thank you, Dean Lina. Our last speaker is Lisa Muller from the Congregational Church of South Glastonbury. She's a member there.
I'm Lisa Muller from the Congregational Church of South Glastonbury. I have seen personally stories of families being destroyed with compulsive gambling. I like to hold up the story of my best friend from Glastonbury. Her brother had a lovely new wife, a new career as a real estate agent, and he became a compulsive gambler. Throughout the history of that, he lost his marriage. He wiped himself out financially. He became indebted to the IRS. He had more debt than he could possibly handle. He then went and convinced his mother, the only wealth that she had was in her house in Glastonbury, and convinced her to sign her house over to him so that he could then sell it at a great profit to her. But instead, he gambled away that money too. He then, he was Catholic and he committed suicide. And so he can't tell his story today, but I can tell the story to you that I have seen not just that family, but many families devastated by compulsive gambling. And that's why I stand today in solidarity with the coalition against casino expansion in Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. We're very grateful that you came to this room this morning to listen to us. This ends the press conference, but we are happy to entertain questions.
Yes, there are three very obvious questions. Number one, as far as I know, there is no apparatus or referendum statewide in the state of Connecticut with the exception of constitutional amendment. How would you overcome that? Number two, what would you say to the hundreds of employees at Meshantucket and the Mohegan who believe they have good jobs and have been told that if this doesn't happen, they'll lose them? And number three, what would you say to a person who correctly points out that it was religious organizations, including the ones present, that are responsible for casino gambling because they got the legislature to approve casino nights for charitable purposes?
Oh, Mark, that's all very, very important point of conversation. I think the first point is, from a referendum basis, I think we need to begin the conversation. And I think the first point should be that if any off-tribal land casino expansion should occur, the municipalities that will be impacted should have a referendum.
Well, that's easy.
So those vehicles are in place.
Yeah,
so from a statewide basis, you're absolutely right. I think that's where the legislative body has to explore that discussion. I think the theme of this is, even though we're in the LOB and we will have an opportunity to deliberate the legislative process, one that I'm looking forward to doing, I felt it was important for people to understand that the societal cost of gambling expansion, formed through the alliances, the stories that are being told, are important. To answer the second question in regards to jobs. Jobs and economy are absolutely critical for every single one of us. I think the key that you need to fully understand is, are we making a bet in an industry that is declining in its potential at a saturated marketplace? And I would offer this from my perspective as an individual that's actively engaged in biomedical and understanding that our arts and culture and entertainment as an industry has garnered over $600 million of positive revenue into our communities, and looking at the growth in advanced manufacturing, that those are the sectors that we as a legislative focus should look at in jobs and our economy, not the potential of a industry that may be oversaturated, that may be on a declining revenue basis, and the potential that the only way you could possibly grow this business is to create more addicted gamblers. Number three, to address the issue in regards to what you mentioned about casino nights and how these kind of processes from a historical perspective led to this conversation. Here's the deal. 20 plus years ago, no one knew what the potential of the tribal compact would have on the state of our affairs in the state. Yes, could these community interfaith organizations provide and may have been the catalyst, but we are in the here and now. And through that 20 plus years of experience, the aftermath of what casinos and gambling has wrought to those communities, I think if you go to those same interfaith organizations that are present here today, and they have articulated today in the trauma and the tragedy and the disastrous effect on their communities, on those that are most vulnerable, I think they would happily say to you that is not the way to go. So yes, the pathway in history, without a doubt. But we are in the here and now in which this diverse group, these individuals that have seen lives impacted by what has gone on, you're absolutely right. As we've heard from an addict, the idea of winning a bingo game, the idea of having a number drawn can be a trigger to renew addiction. That is what we have learned from this. So yes, these interfaith groups have stepped up and have said, this is not the way to go. So I hope I answer all three of your questions.
Good job.
My wife would be proud of that too, huh? And any others? Daniela? But I think it's important for us to understand that as we talk about in this building, jobs and economy, we've not had a real societal impact of gambling in our state. And unless we do that, unless we fully understand, and for these individuals to have stepped up from all ranges of the political spectrum, lives that are impacted, you can't put that into quantifiable facts, but people can see when lives have been ruined. And this is what we're talking about here, that gambling is not an amorphous dollars and cents. It is about lives that have been irreparably damaged, and lives that perhaps did not have to go that pathway. So we will provide a list of all of these individuals that spoke in their respective emails if you wanted to get in touch with them. But at the end of the day, I hope we have an opportunity to have a discussion that is balanced and not simply a rush to facilitate a competition in an industry that may be declining, but to really listen to the people of the state that we represent. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.